Tonight is risky business in the motorsport heart of Nevada. As it stands, 4 slots are still available for drivers to enter the 2024 Ignite Series Championship race with a fighting shot at the title. Last week, Nick Tarbuck was able to clinch his way into the championship picture, but still our title favorites and some underdogs remain in contention to join the number 29 team in the quest for the next level racing chase for the cup. Welcome back to Sin City. This is the Las Vegas Motor Speedway and the Sin City 210. It will be coming at you live on FTN Broadcasting. You're watching the Integrity Racing League, race number 28 of 30. Stakes are high, race lengths are getting longer, and now the best drivers have to put on the best performances. The pressure is as high as it's going to get all throughout the campaign. A chance to relieve some of it comes in victory lane tonight, if of course a driver is able to advance. But we also have drivers playing spoiler tonight, looking for the checkered flag, who are not part of the battle for the title, and everyone has a chance at the checkered flag no matter what. I'll be of course commentating and producing all of tonight's action. I'm David Kreutz. Welcome back. Qualifying on the move with 2 minutes remaining. Right now at the top of the board, Cody Smith is going to lead the way, and Matthew Funhorse will be in second. And we mentioned the championship contenders have to deal with those spoilers, shall we say. Cody Smith is not title eligible, and he's up to the top nevertheless. Thomas Bressi is going to roll down to the pit road. He is currently in P7. Jacob Fife is going to be in number 36, of course, tonight. He himself provisionally the 5th and last driver seated in this title race. At least he will be the last one to advance if the final round would to be today. So Jacob still has some work to do after a solid run last week. Maybe an opportunity for him to really solidify his title chances. He's been able to come away with 2 consecutive top 5 finishes, including a win at Martinsville, but the intermediates haven't been his strongest sort of circuit. Now, everyone's very good at these intermediates based on years of experience, but it takes a different driver to be separate from all those around you. Jacob needs a good run tonight. Michael Stroll now on provisional pole, and that's a man who also needs to come from under the cut. Jacob Fife now going to make his way around the final 2 corners, and for him, this will be his first of 2 laps. He's got 40 seconds left on the board to put something down. Also coming through as well will be Braxton Deweese. Braxton's first time puts him up into 13th, so he still has a ways to go for him to improve. Looks like right now he's about 0.2 of a second quicker than his previous attempt. Not going to be fast enough now for the pole position unless we get some significant improvements out of him in the final corner. Looking better now. Might have a chance for a top 5 starting spot. That's a 30.406, and it will be good for 7th. Oh, so close to cracking the top 5, just not enough. The gap between he and last week's race winner Tarbuck, only 3/1000ths of a second. 17 drivers make it 18 are able to cross at least 1 lap for the checkered flag in practice. Michael Stroll and Domination Intimidation Racing are looking for 2 consecutive wins. It'll be the number 3 up to the pole position. Sun is setting here in Las Vegas, and drivers are going to be dealing with a day-to-night race, so to speak. First and foremost, well, Thomas Bressi, of course, has to lead them through. He'll be the first driver off a pit road here in this second practice. 5 minutes for drivers to make their final changes, and, of course, there's no chance for any driver to sort of take a risk, make a gamble, because it's a fixed setup tonight. And as a result, it's all going to come down to driver skill as it has all season long. One of our longer intermediate races coming in at 140 laps. And so with about 4 minutes and 30 seconds left, let's get to know your starting grid here, filled with some of the top talents in this league. Some of our very well-known spoilers, some of which who have been full-time, some of which who are just getting their first chances here on the Monday night swing. Nevertheless, of course, championship contenders once again on the front row, at least one of which would be the number 3 of Michael Stroll with the pole position tonight. Domination Intimidation Racing came away with the win last week, and at Iowa it was Nick Tarbuck. Tonight, Michael Stroll looks to make it 2 consecutive. He'll be the man on the inside of row number 1. Next to him will be Cody Smith, and Matthew Funhorse will be in 3rd. 30.383 for JTM's leading driver tonight. And then, of course, you got grab the number 4 spot. That's going to be Rob Ackley. DIR 4th and 6th. We'll get to Nick Tarbuck, but first you got to acknowledge the number 47 of Don Stevenson. Don tonight still looking to keep that dark horse run alive. He has been the most quiet of all championship contenders, 30.396, and he finds himself there right beside now one of our final 5 drivers in the title fight. 7th place, regular season championship, Braxton Deweese. He won it. He's looking to come back and look for another victory. Last time he won was at Darlington to put himself into the round of 10. Maybe now he's got a chance to move on and make it to the round of 5. 8th place is Chuck Sweeting. He's our second inside of the top 10 to be a spoiler tonight. Thomas Bresci and Jacob Fife round out the top 10. Bresci just 1/100th of a second quicker than that of Fife. You're going to have 11 page, then I'm back. Of course, that's going to be 11th place on the second page of our starting grid. Blake Gordon, a driver who made it into this round solely off of that victory in Talladega, and the man he took out of it effectively by winning, Chad Mikus with a 30.565. 11th and 12th will be alongside each other, and Brendan Bernhardt will be 13th with Kyle Cooper 14th. Vinny Tigner in 15th, Daniel Foss 16th, and Alan Rowell in 17th. P18 will be Andrew Schaub with Tom Wetmore and Brian McFerrin, the final 2 drivers on the starting grid. Welcome back to Nevada. We're going playoff racing in Las Vegas. That's your starting grid for the Sin City 210. So, 2 minutes left and time, of course, ticking down. Time to take a look back downstairs on the circuit. So far, 7 drivers have taken times, and the leader of which, once again, Domination Intimidation Racing. This time, it's Rob Ackley. Ackley knows what it means to, of course, get a playoff victory in an intermediate. Hasn't been able to do so, of course, ever since 2023. However, the first ever time we went 1.5 mile racing during the championship chase, it was Ackley, the man who got the job done. So leave it to Rob Ackley to find a way tonight. He, Nick Tarbuck, of course, Michael Stroll, and his teammate, the number 25 of Chad Mikus, all of which running together. Although Mikus is no longer eligible for the title, he has put up a wonderful race. Of course, wonderful season, shall we say. He put up a good race as well last week in Iowa, but he came in as a 3rd seed, missed 1 race, and that was the difference between advancing and, of course, being locked out of the title fight. Nevertheless, his teammates are still in the thick of the hunt, and, of course, with 3 of which still eligible, that is going to be the best number for all throughout the entire Ignite Series campaign. Slowly but surely, we're seeing independent drivers fall off the radar. DJ Stagner not being in the session tonight will eliminate him for the championship race, and so, lest he has a victory next week anyway, he will not be able to defend his 2023 title. Matthew Thunhorse is going to be in 7th here right now. 28 seconds to go, and you might have noticed something about Matthew Thunhorse. Ever since Darlington, he's brought back the 2023 paint scheme, bringing back the original Matthew Thunhorse green, and it looks like he's going to keep it that way, at least until the end of the season. Perhaps a little bit of a good luck charm to go back to the ways of old when he was the inaugural regular season champion. He was able to, of course, clinch that accolade in Iowa in 2023. Now he's going to head down and in once again. Checkered flag on this final session. Rob Ackley and Nick Tarbuck, the top 2 drivers. Quick time for Rob Ackley, 30.304, and he sets it there 31 thousandths of a second ahead of his teammates. Drivers are now going to get into formation here. This time, of course, driver to driver, not just putting the numbers together. We have a field of 20 plus, it looks like, with some very late registrations. However, the majority of our championship contenders are here with us. The only notable exception, unfortunately, it is going to be DJ Stagner, a championship winner beforehand, not only in the Integrity Ignite Series, but as well the Highline Racing League. 140 laps on the table tonight. And while we've been to Las Vegas before, never has it been so late in the title bout. This circuit we've seen previously in the Octane Series, we've seen it in the Ignite Series as well, 2023, 2024, doesn't matter how we've raced here, when we've raced here, this is, of course, perhaps the most important race this league has seen at this very circuit, with 10 drivers eligible for the championship, 1 already locked in, 1 effectively eliminated. That's going to leave us with 8 drivers in the middle contending for 4 final spots. Michael Stroll gets on the way to start our formation lap. One of the newer intermediates throughout the country, you might notice something different when it comes to Las Vegas compared to all other intermediates that are very similar in scope. Its location. It's in the barren desert of Las Vegas, Nevada, and the Vegas Valley comes alive twice every year in the real NASCAR Cup Series. However, tonight we don't have to worry all too much about the weather, but it will definitely affect the drivers. Maybe for the better. It's partly cloudy skies, 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and track temperature coming in at number 78. So sub 80 degree temperatures, minimal wind, and minimal humidity. Nighttime here in Las Vegas, and conditions are very favorable. Great to see as we head down southwest. Now as drivers get on the way down the Nellis straightaway, the full field is together with us, save for one Tom Wetmore. Wetmore registered late, doesn't look like he's made it to the starting grid. We'll see whether or not he's choosing to start on pit road. That is something we've seen previously. However, at the intermediates, that has been a very rare choice given how clean we've been end over end throughout the campaign. Last week and the week before, we went caution-free racing. Maybe a chance now to do it yet again. Michael Stroll, of course, would love to see that. He's got his teammates lined up in the second and third rows, respectively, hoping to greet him as Domination Intimidation Racing brings us back to the start-finish line. Barney the Flagman will wave the green. Michael Stroll will collect it. Back on our way with the number 3 leading us through. It's time to go racing in Sin City with a title soon to be on the line. Cody Smith side by side now with Matthew Thunhorst, and the leading man is Michael Stroll even still. He'll get away for a good 10.5 second gap, which is expanded doubly so to be about a third of a second coming into lap number 3. So already battling at the head of the field. Cody Smith, mind you, is not eligible for the championship here, but you're going to see him up in front regardless. Of course, Cody Smith is someone who's very experienced with being in this position, being a title spoiler, going toe-to-toe with contenders. Nick Tarbuck, Cody Smith last year in Kentucky. Smith able to steal the checkered flag in the one and only night that Alec Daffin was not able to get a top 3 in the entire playoff run he had. Well, it was Smith and Tarbuck who stole the show, and those two ended up going down the line, a gap between the two of 2 1/1000ths of a second, in which Cody Smith was the victorious driver. Maybe a chance now for Cody Smith to do it again, but this time not in Kentucky, but instead in Las Vegas. Currently he finds himself 0.3 of a second back, but the biggest thing for Cody Smith is, of course, trying to overcome the struggles in race pace compared to his proficiency in qualifying. Over 1 or 2 laps, Cody Smith tends to be one of the fastest drivers in the field, but strategy is thrown in for a loop all season long. Cody Smith racing alone, no teammates around him, so maybe that's one thing to keep in mind, because right now he's going to be sandwiched by the DIR crew. If, of course, Rob Hackley gets by him, he's still got Nick Tarbuck to deal with. The 22 will go down low, and with them, Nick Tarbuck is due to come. JTM currently going to find itself with 2 drivers tonight. You've got Matthew Thunhorst in 5th, and a little bit further back, very far back for his liking, Thomas Bressi finds himself in 13th. He's going to be battling against Vinny Tigner right now, and the rookie in the number 12 is seeking that Rookie of the Year classification. Now, it looks like for Vinny Tigner, he still finds himself in a good spot, maybe to come away with top 10 in the championship standings. That's a battle, though, he'll have to keep on fighting here as the season goes on. It's going to come down to the very end of the championship at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Nevertheless, he just got by Kyle Cooper. That was for 13th. Thomas Bressi got by the both of them, getting the better of which he puts himself up in the P12 with Chad Micas there 11th. Micus right now the furthest back of his teammates on track. Right now his teammates up front of him are going to be running first, second, and fourth. Chad Micus right now, while not necessarily underperforming, he's got a lukewarm start, of course, looking to improve with the time that's ahead of him. Chad tonight starting inside, as we mentioned, the 11th spot. Now he's going to find himself exactly there again. Maybe right now he's just going to be taking it easy, hoping to get to the top 10 as the laps go by. And progress might just come from being the most conservative driver on the field. And of course, that's something that Chad Micus has been able to really work into his strategies, being patient, being conservative, understanding when is the right time to be a risky driver and when it isn't. That's something that most drivers, it takes them an awful long time to get to. From 2023 to 2024, we have seen the difference in Chad Micus. It is like night and day. He was hardly a fringe playoff driver in 23, but he's developed a penchant for that long-term, long-form, long green flag run action. Length is his strength, and for Chad Micus, I think that's something he takes in stride. Overall, this season might just be a practice and a warm-up for what's due to come in his Integrity Racing League career. And I'd say watch out, because if this is just the preview, well, I'd love to see what comes next in the feature film we'll call 2025. Up at the front of the field, nevertheless, Rob Ackley now right behind his teammate, and you got Cody Smith right there too. Smith in the number 18 machine is still going to find himself sandwiched by DIR, but it looks like he has not given up. Nick Tarbuck hasn't necessarily given in either, but he hasn't been all too aggressive with respect to making a pass. Blake Gordon right now going to be up to the top side. The Jimmy Johnson number 19, very different look from what we've seen of Blake Gordon for the past few weeks. He's gone to that FedEx 19, something he was running from about the second half of the season onward, but now looks like a brand new look here for the number 19 crew. Jimmy Johnson, you might remember 23 years ago on this date, it was of course October 7, 2001, when he made his very first NASCAR Cup Series start in the number 48 Power of Pride Lowe's Chevrolet Monte Carlo. He was a part-time entry funded by Jeff Gordon at that time and was a full-time Busch Series driver during the 2001 season. That was his first ever attempt with Hendrick Motorsports, and of course was signed full-time in 2002, and the rest, as they say, it is history. Since that point, of course, Jimmy Johnson collecting a total of 7 NASCAR Cup Series championships. His first start did not come in Sin City. It instead came in Charlotte Motor Speedway, but an intermediate all the same. And right now, it looks like that number 48 is, of course, not on track. You might remember, though, Blake Gordon was running the 48 last season. He swapped out when Alec Daffin joined. And now it's the number 19, once again, representing Jimmy Johnson up in front in the 6th spots. Chris DeWeese, Alan's Art Images in the chat room. Thank you both for stopping by. 8th place right now. There's Braxton DeWeese, Alan's Art Images, number 13. Braxton so far going to find himself, as he's been all throughout the season, on the positive of the cut line. Doesn't have to worry all too much about a disastrous race. Braxton having that point buffer, it's helped him out significantly. He finds himself 10 up on the buffer right now, ahead of Matthew Thunhorst and Jacob Fife coming into the championship standings. And while behind Thomas Bresci currently, well, he's ahead of him on the racing circuit. So that's a big boost for his sake. Although it looks like now there's Don Stevenson, the 9th place driver. He's looking to make his way up beyond the 9th place on track. Don is really going to be the underdog of underdogs this season, and he's hoping to continue that run. He finds himself now the final of drivers who are eligible for the championship. DJ Stagner, again, unless he comes out of his little hibernation in this series and wins next week, he will not be eligible to go racing for the title again. Don Stevenson is the last man who can do so without a mandatory win tonight, but he's got to put up a real good race, because right now the front runners in the championship are still just ahead of him. And notably, Stevenson goes down low on Braxton DeWeese. And all the while, Matthew Thunhorst is going to find himself in 4th, watching DIR 1, 2, 3 just ahead of him. Teammates here don't really have all too much of an incentive to be necessarily aggressive alongside one another or aggressive to one another. So seeing this single file train isn't to be unexpected, although I'm sure if one of these drivers ends up making a mistake, you're going to see both of those teammates behind pounce, or maybe Nick Tarbuck or Rob Ackley make the mistake, and the rest of the field behind get to work. Matthew Thunhorst is going to be in 4th right now, and if you take a look on board, while close, he's doing things a little bit different, notably through the corners. Matthew going to be following the way of Rob Ackley here, using that higher groove to take advantage. And now Rob gets up to the race lead. Nick Tarbuck finds himself groove 3. Looks like it's going to be stuck in the middle. Matthew Thunhorst, he's going to be above Michael Stroll, but below Nick Tarbuck, deciding to use that second groove. And if we go by car lengths, that's exactly where Matthew Thunhorst remains to be. And this is where you start to see the differentiation. The NASCAR Xfinity car is getting a brand new intermediate package, and as a result, you're able to go bottom side, able to go top side, and use anything in between. Now, since this track is especially cool, given racetrack standards anyway, only come in at about 80 degrees, everywhere is viable. The rubber is not laid in any place on the track. So long as you have some support ahead and behind you, you should be able to make something happen, as long as, of course, you don't have any damage. No matter where you go, there's usually someone else to find yourself with, and Nick Tarbuck right now is really taking it to the extreme. He's running up hot in third, and that might actually cost him a position here, as you can see charging down the back straightaway. Matthew Thunhorst in the number 8. He's got himself still looking to make a pass. Not clear just yet, and it might be a slide up the circuit that eventually costs him that chance on the attack. Jacob Fife is going to be side by side here with Blake Gordon again, and we might see 3 wide if Jacob decides to push the issue. Fife is coming to his own very late in this season. What win early on in Talladega, and it looked to be a significant outlier. Then, for the past 2 races, he's come away with top 5. He's one of the strongest racers at the short tracks. Martinsville, where he got the win. Iowa, got a top 5 finish last week. So to come back to the intermediates, which are the type that we have here for the championship finale, it is necessary to do well. And the Modern Integrity Ignite Series and Octane Series history, the most success that Jacob Fife has seen on the intermediates has been on Tuesday nights. Has not yet been able to get a victory on a 1.5-mile circuit in the Ignite Series in its 2 seasons of existence. That could change tonight, but of course he still has a few drivers to get ahead of, and it looks like right now Nick Tarbuck is going to find himself P2 to Rob Ackley. Michael Stroll, while dropping back, does not drop far. He's here in P3. Interesting to see. DIR is the big 3 to open up the night. Nick Tarbuck is no stranger to big 3s, and if we talk about the Integrity Racing League, you got to talk about the Integrity Octane Series, and of course the notable race that we saw just a week ago, the final race for the one and only Ethan Lane. He collected 14 wins on the season, but is not going to be able to be championship eligible, as we see 3 wide Blake Gordon, Jacob Fife, and Matthew Thunhorst. Well, for Ethan Lane, he was able to dominate the entirety of 2024 in the Integrity Octane Series with a record-setting 14 wins in a season, which elevates his career total up to 15 in the modern era. As a result, well, it's a wonderful season, but it will not be enough for the title. The reason being, Ethan Lane is going on to the NASCAR Contender Series as one of the 40 best drivers eligible to qualify for the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, the top level of virtual motorsport. Lane has truly proven to be one of his own, and of course a one-of-a-kind driver in this league, and we wish him luck. Unfortunately, we haven't seen him ever in the Monday Night Tour. Very few drivers have decided to cross that border. Those that do are regulars on a week-to-week basis, and it looks like one that did is 2 laps down. Tom Wetmore is back on the way. Here's that number 08. He got on the track late, but it looks like he's got a good enough pace now to maybe make it by Brian McFerrin, and that he does. As it stands, it really does not look like he's going to have much else to compete with the race leaders. He finds himself significantly behind when it comes to track position, and 2 laps down for Wetmore, not the best place to be. Looking low is Matthew Thunhorst here on Blake Gordon, and here comes Braxton Ruiz all the same. Braxton now making a double trouble for the number 48 rather than number 19, as Blake Gordon decides to stay up high. Matthew Thunhorst goes low. It's going to be doubled up if Jacob Fife can only get to the back end of the number 13 in time, which he failed to do this time around. Maybe he'll be able to do so on the next loop. Got a big bundle of drivers here from 4th all the way down now to the 11th and 12th positions with Thomas Bresci, Vinny Tigner, and then you got Chad Mikas just ahead in 10th. It's the Hornet's Nest, as we often call it, but it looks like it's been relatively relatively calm, mostly single file despite the proximity, and it's been very challenging to make those multi-laps, of course, of running sustainable. Very big slide there for Blake Gordon. Talk about a save, and that one was slanted near 30 degrees into the inside of Jacob Fife's quarter panel. Nevertheless, Jacob Fife, he's safe. Blake Gordon with an amazing save at that. He is still loose, though. This is not good news as the number 19 now looks to be coming apart. What could be a fluke, but I think at this rate, 2's already a pattern, and he is sliding through corners now, trying to make ends meet in these battles. That's going to drop Blake Gordon all the way down to 9th at the minimum. He might fall outside of the top 10 at the rate things are looking. Not a good place to be. Vinny Tigner coming up, as is Chad Mikus. And so, well, Blake, he's got no choice now but to concede, at least temporarily. There's a good opportunity here for Chad Mikus to dive low. Can't quite make anything of it. Looking on board here with the 75 of Chuck Sweeting. Take a look here and you'll see 28 laps in at the 140. What's going on? 3 wide. Up top is still Blake Gordon trying to recover, but it's going to be a tricky job. Chuck Sweeting stays on the back end here, but things just ahead of him have simmered down once again. What hasn't simmered down is the battle at the front of the field. It's still between teammates, but a new man will lead the way. Enter Nick Tarbuck, who fell down to 3rd and was being threatened for that spot. Well, that's no longer the case. It looks like instead Michael Stroll is being fed to the pack of wolves, and now the number 29 is up ahead. What a story it would be if Nick Tarbuck was able to come away with 2 consecutive victories. He has been looking red hot as of late, but when we say as of late, we're talking about the past 200 or so laps of racing. Really, we haven't seen anything to indicate that Tarbuck would come out the box like this so late in the season. Before last week, which was once again 26 complete races, Nick Tarbuck had 0 wins. Count 0. And more than 10 drivers have won in this series this season. In a season that has been filled with parity, it's ironic that Nick Tarbuck was not able to get a win until only the 4th to last race of the season. Whereas in the Integrity Octane series, where 3 drivers have won 95% of the races, Tarbuck already has 4 wins. It's interesting to see now that Nick Tarbuck has had to wait so long to put himself in this spot. Nevertheless, he's doing a pretty good job at it right here, 32 laps in. All the while, we mentioned Michael Stroll is now falling down the ladder. Your pole sitter, it looks like now facing the most struggle. He'll slot in right behind league owner Jacob Fife. You got Braxton Weiss there just ahead. Moreover, Matthew Thunworth, then Vinny Tigner and Cody Smith. Now 2 of your championship spoilers, shall we say, are concentrated with one another, both of which are still eligible, of course, to go out there and race for the win. However, they are not battling for the title. Vinny Tigner, though, I think if he's going to be able to get that, so to speak, attempts together, that's the tricky part. Well, I think he's going to have a pretty good job of becoming a further championship contender. Going deeper throughout the ladder year after year might be something we see out of the SNT League owner. Take a ride on board with him right now. Vinny Tigner currently going to find himself in 6th here, and watching as Michael Stroll, of course, just got past the driver of the number 12, Vinny Tigner, hanging tough. He might have a chance to actually get inside of the top 5 here, if, of course, he can just get around that number number 8. And of course the 36, maybe even the number 13 of Braxton Louise. We have been seeing shuffling all throughout the pack, race in, race out. What you're seeing in lap number 35, of course it will not be representative of what's going to go on in lap number 70 or lap number 105 or maybe something of that nature. You think about the numbers, they go up and up and up, and every single time we see something completely different. Of course, the pole position, that was won by Michael Stroll. He's all the way down now into that 7th spot. 8th place is going to be Cody Smith. 9th is Don Stevenson. Drivers who were nowhere near each other to kick this off tonight, well, now they're all in this together. And that's, of course, what we see with green flag racing. That's not broken up by pit strategy. As it stands, pit road, well, we're expecting to see it in maybe 35 laps, if these drivers are able to save it. However, I don't believe that's going to be likely, and so the two-stop strategy, it's going to be very close to the minds of every driver. In about 25 laps, at the very most, you'll see drivers head down a pit road, and that's going to be our first of 2 pit stops on the day. So if we see drivers come down a pit road about lap number 55, lap number 60, then you'll see about a 55-60 run to complement it after the fact. Now, the first and foremost thing is you have to understand that these drivers would love to stretch it further. We do not have a limit on the fuel cell tonight, so as a result, there's not going to be much of an issue when it comes to going as far as you can. 55-60 laps should be tolerable, but it's those extra 10 to 15 that are almost impossible to pull off. If you watch live on FTN often, you might just know that the Integrity Ignite Series is not the only sort of Xfinity series we go to. It's one of many, the Highline Racing League. We also, of course, have, alongside that, the Iora Cup Series, and they're both on Thursday nights. And the Iora Cup Series has gone to this circuit many a time before for 120 lap races, which are very tricky, of course, to manage on fuel. Because if you manage for 120, you have to try and split it 60-60. In the Iora Cup Series, that is not possible. The reason being, they have a limit on the fuel cell. Here in the Ignite Series, you are unlimited and unrestricted, and already drivers are heading down a pit road. Andrew Schaub is the first of which. Here's the number 55. So Andrew's going to come in after 39 laps here. It's an interesting strategy because going 40 laps apiece would not be sustainable to get you to the end without an additional 3rd pit stop, which is, of course, what you do not want to see. 40 laps in out of 140 so far. Here's Cody Smith. He finds himself now just ahead, as you saw. Michael Stroll decided to go down to the inside. He's in 13th here. Interesting to see that. 41 laps in, and your pole sitter goes in rather early for what could be a 3-stopper. So maybe you're going to try to undercut here and go for a longer second run. Michael Stroll, only the 2nd driver to come in. He'll be going for 4 tires and fuel, as you can see. The rest of the field decides again to stay right out. So with Nick Tarbuck now leading, he's still got Rob Ackley in 2nd, Braxton Louise there in P3. Matthew Thunder's is 4th and Vinny Tigner's 5th, with Jacob Fife 6th and Cody Smith in 7th. Thomas Bressy's going to be P8 here, so he's continuing to make gains, and a lot of which, of course, not going to be prompted by that pit road madness. As a matter of fact here, I think he's actually just coming into his own. Not the best of starts for Thomas Bressy. We saw him outside of the top 10, which, if you've been watching this season, that's a very rare thing. He started in 9th, but went down to as low as position number 13. So Thomas Bressy definitely not getting off on the right foot. Now, of course, I think he's looking a little bit better to go the distance, but top 10 is all he can accept. Anything outside of which would be detrimental to the championship cause, and I think every driver here who is still championship eligible, they know that. Less than 100 laps to go already. The opening stint has come and went, and now we're looking forward to what's up next for pit road. Matthew Thunderhorse is going to get by Jacob Fife. That's going to put Matthew up in a 5th again. Then you got Rob Ackley in P3, and Rob is right there with Braxton Louise. Braxton just got up to a race high second place here. So number 13 is going to get ahead of Ackley, although Rob is looking to charge back and he will send it deep on the bottom side. Rob Ackley's send really doesn't do him all too much. He'll have to wade back once again, waiting and hopefully getting a chance to go at it in the next coming laps if pit road strategy goes his way. Now Braxton's going to be up in a P2, and he is looking quick. That time by, he was about 0.2 of a second quicker than Nick Tarbuck, and of course, hoping to repeat that again and again and again. He would be there by about lap number 55, relatively speaking. And if we're talking about the lap he would catch Nick Tarbuck at that pace. We'll see if it's consistent, though. Across the line, this time around, he was again 2.5 quicker. Yeah, it looks like there's a real consistent trend here. Braxton DeWeese is the driver to look out for here. That number 13, 46 laps in. All of a sudden, he's making his way through. Blake Gordon is going to be spun in alone. Gordon with trouble, cautions out. Yellow flag will fly for Blake Gordon in the number 19. It looked like Alone will be caught up to the frame, and an incident for the number 19 of Gordon brings out the caution. We'll see if anyone else was involved. And up the track, Gordon loose, and we mentioned it before, and this time not able to escape contact. Michael Stroll involved. However, minor, it looks like there's going to be some damage on the front end there for the number 3. Cautions out. Pit road is going to be hit quick, and it looks like strategy getting a little bit simpler as a result of our first yellow flag on the night. Michael Stroll, a little bit of assistant, but of course Blake Gordon got loose first. Take a look back, this time on board with the number 3 machine. And look at how much slower Blake Gordon was. Looks like Stroll going to get away with no cosmetic damage there. Maybe something to the engine, but all things considered, I think he got rather lucky. Blake Gordon getting punted down and in, although it looks like, unfortunately, just a racing error between the two drivers. Not sure if they're going to assign any fault based on that one. Caution is out for the first time tonight. 47 laps in out of 140, and drivers now drop to pit road as quick as possible. Drivers heading to pit road, 4 tires and fuel is what's on the agenda, and leading the way out, well, that remains to be seen. If we take a look at our pit exit camera here, well, there's one driver going through, Tom Wetmore looking for laps. Braxton DeWeese, though, looks like he gets the advantage. It'll be Braxton, then Nick Tarbuck with Rob Ackley 3rd and Vinny Tigner 4th. Matthew Thunhorst rounds out in the top 5. And so now, drivers making their way through. Thunhorst in 5th, well, he'll be just about where he was beforehand, losing about a spot or 2. Big moves for Chuck Sweeting and Kyle Cooper. Cooper getting back up into 11th here. Chuck Sweeting returning into 10th. Looks like overall very similar to how he came in, but a new race leader, the number 13 of Braxton DeWeese, getting his very first chance up in front. Tom Wetmore, Andrew Schaub, they were put 1 lap down, and so they're going to have to get those laps put back on him. It could be Tom Wetmore now with his first chance all night to be on the lead lap, but he'll go down to pit road once again for a little bit of additional service. So he'll be 1 lap down. It looks like Blake Gordon back on the lead lap, and Andrew Schaub is officially 1 lap down as well. We'll go back green at lap number 50 here out of 140, and we'll have 91 laps to go to settle the score from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So far with Braxton DeWeese up at the front of the field, well, he currently finds himself to the positive in number 55. And then, of course, you got Nick Tarbuck, who already locked himself in. Fourth place is going to be then from there, just behind, and Vinny Tigner. Rob Ackley remains inside the podium, but Vinny, the rookie, has put himself back up inside top 5 contention. Not bad at all for what is now our leading playoff spoiler, the number 12. He was able to enter the round of 15 and moved on his way to the round of 10. Of course, as an outsider. So he's looking here only to find a victory lane. He's got himself 3 chances, including tonight. You got next week, of course, which is going to be our round of 10 finale, in which the final spots will be decided. Whether or not, of course, we have 3 or 4 spots left comes up to the field today. So if it ends up being that we have a clear winner, most likely that will mean that another driver moves on to the Homestead finale, and New Hampshire will be a battle for 3 last spots in the championship. Not guaranteed yet. We could see a playoff spoiler win the race. However, for now, it looks like the title fighters are once again the quickest drivers, and that's no coincidence. Lap number 50, we will go green this time by and have ourselves 90 laps to go next up. Right now, looking at your top 10, you've got overall 3 championship spoilers in the picture. You've got Cody Smith, Chuck Sweeting, who are 9th and 10th, and of course Vinny Tigner up there in P4. Rest of the top 10 is going to be title eligible, and then you look a little bit further back and you'll have Michael Stroll, Blake Gordon, the final additional 2 on the track tonight. Again, DJ Stagner opting to miss this event, and as a result, well, he's going to be effectively eliminated from the title battle. Now, as we go racing once more, lap number 51, we'll have ourselves 90 laps to go here, and so pit strategy should be rather easy. Expecting the 2-stopper to be the way to go from here, and pit road will be rather busy in, give or take, 50 laps at the very most. iRacing Pace Car is going to head back down to its home on pit road, and it'll be Braxton DeWeese this time around leading the field. Green flag is going to fly. Let's get racing again. Lap number 51 coming up next. We got Rob Ackley and Nick Tarbuck side by side, but the teammates get back in a single file order. Now 51 laps in, coming to lap number 140 up next. Taking a look at the number 36. There's the number 36 of Jacob Fife indeed. He finds himself now looking under Vinny Tigner, Thomas Bressi just ahead. Bressi so far, when it comes to his campaign, no doubt he has been one of the championship favorites. We have not talked about him all too much in this round so far. However, he was second in Iowa, and he was clearly the second quickest driver all throughout. It's not like he was a driver who went out silent when racing in the cornfields. He was able to lead some 60 laps until Nick Tarbuck took that race lead away from him. Since that point, of course, he's not been able to get back to victory lane, but that's only because we've only run 52 laps tonight. Thomas Bressi looking for a little bit of redemption, but you can imagine that he can't get it until the job is done here in this race. Matthew Thunhorse, his teammate, will be just ahead, and it looks like he's having some struggles getting around him, so he'll go up top. Jacob Fife resides low, and as does Cody Smith. 2x2, multiple drivers in little bundles right now. Blake Gordon got back on the way as well. Currently, Blake is going to find himself running in 18th. And while at the tail end of the field, it looks like his current damage is minimal. He'll be good enough to run around the back half of the field if there's any substantial damage left. It looks like he's still going to have a chance to stay on the lead lap, even if, of course, that is the case. He's actually on newer tire here, so the fact that he's struggling indicates that he has significantly worse back-end performance. And, of course, getting the body crumpled up there has its consequences, although now Blake Gordon could be looking for a 3-wide pass. He'll look under Adam Wood, and by proxy, he will look right under the driver of the number 7 of Brian McFerrin, if he can get up to him. Now up in front, you look again, there's Cody Smith with the Matthew Thunhorst. Matthew looking up high. It looks like now Jacob Fife, no choice. He's going to have to acknowledge that number 8 is up there, and he is getting quick. Matthew Thunhorst going to be taking it up to the top side, but he will be blocked. Defense there by the number 36 of Jacob Fife. Hangs on again. Leading it still going to be Rob Ackley. Then you got Nick Tarbuck in second. Third place is going to be Braxton DeWeese, and Thomas Bressi is in fourth. Bressi up to the highest spot he's been in all night long. Looks like Braxton back in the podium, but he's not the leader yet again. Then you've got second place in Nick Tarbuck. P2 is going to be, well, of course, Nick right there, but you'll see Braxton DeWeese falling off big with a mistake right through the apron. Now going to find himself in 9th. Braxton going to have to recover from that one. No significant damage. Maybe a little bit of tire scuffing. Nevertheless, here it looks like he's going to have a chance to put himself back into the picture if he just hangs on to the draft with Kyle Cooper. That's something that, of course, is not optimal, but it isn't all too serious. There are no major championship implications for Braxton so long as he hangs on inside of the top 10. Just got to get back up there in the loop that's ahead of him, and he should be quick enough to maybe pass Kyle Cooper within the next 5 or 10 laps at the very most. You got 7th place in Vinny Tigner, 6th place in Cody Smith, and then from there, of course, you got Matthew Funhorst, who now holds the keys to the top 5 kingdom. He's in P5, and he's defending against the number 12, who's got no choice but to go lower if he wants to make it by that number 8. Something he can't do so far, and Thomas Bressy's going to slide back up the circuit. Meanwhile, Nick Tarbuck gets on the way again, racing down the back straight. He's chasing after his teammate Rob Ackley. Once again, those two get away front and center, leaving the rest of the field to joust amongst each other. It's the 24 of Bressy up top, and the 36 of Jacob Fife down low, and the advantage again goes to the 24 of Thomas Bressy. 59 laps in out of 140, coming very close to that lap 60 period. 5 drivers within about a 10.5 of a second here from Cody Smith up to Jacob Fife alike. Great to see some solid, clean, 2-wide battling, which is what we've seen for the majority of the night, save for that one minor yellow flag incident. We've seen some pretty good racing all throughout the field. As it stands, you can see Braxton Luis right now. He has clean air, but he's also side by side with Michael Stroll. Can't quite get himself up in the hornet's nest as he's looking up to it ahead. Looks like for the time being, the 36 of Jacob Fife, though, is going to get the advantage. He's in 3rd now, looking at a 3-wide fight. Cody Smith, Vinny Tigner both have to give. Advantage goes to Thomas Bressy. 60 laps in out of 140, and Thomas doing a real good job there of getting out in the way. It looks like now he's going to have a chance to take over the bottom and top sides when necessary, and defending on both grooves is going to make it that much more challenging, as here comes the number 18 of Cody Smith again. Vinny Tigner looks low, Thomas Bressy looks up top, side by side, and Matthew Thunnell still going to be the onlooker. Two teammates are separate by a quarter of a second at the head of the field. Right now, Michael Stroll finds himself a bit of an outlier compared to his Domination Intimidation Racing teammates up at the head of the championship race. Now, they're going to make some significant gains, but for Michael Stroll, he needs to make them even more so. He's 12 points under the bubble coming into tonight, and while he has some lead lap bonus, of course, and the pole position bonus, that is not going to be enough. He needs active track position, something right now that both the number 29 and 22 possess, is something that Michael Stroll desperately needs to get up there in the top 10, maybe move up higher into the top 5, or perhaps make it up to the podium. Right now, of course, it looks like that's not the way things are going, but as the laps wind down, Michael Stroll still has many a chance, and this is why we mentioned lap number 35 will look significantly different from lap number 70, and so on and so forth. Right now, though, for Michael Stroll, it's not the best of looks, and he falls behind even teammate Chad Mikas here, as Chuck Sweeting now looks to make it down to the inside and diving under Braxton Luis. Braxton's tire wear looks to be significant enough in that he's now falling back down the ladder again. And for this number 13 of Braxton Luis, well, it's a tricky look at the head of the field, of course. He was up there, and now that's no longer the case. Coming down a driver error, and when you get those tires scuffed, they don't come back. As it stands, we have mentioned the track conditions are very calm and very favorable to all those drivers on the circuit. And the most important for them, of course, these drivers have to acknowledge tires. Right now, the rubber isn't really worn in any more heat on the track. Track temperatures coming in at 79 degrees Fahrenheit, but that means that having clean tires all the more important, because it's unlikely your competition around you is going to wear their stuff out if there's nothing to wear. And so as such, it's going to be bad news for Braxton Luis if he falls back any further. For his sake, he's going to have to find a way now to make his moves without falling back or without risking what he's got. doing a good job, of course, abiding by the line. He finds himself now ahead of Chuck Sweeting once again, and the problem is going to be whether or not Chuck Sweeting here really makes a move. He is one of those championship spoilers anyway, not necessarily the most well-known of drivers to go out there and find a victory in the heat of the moment. He has one career victory. It came at the Texas Motor Speedway, and since that point he has been, relatively speaking, a silent driver, but he does have solid pace under him on good nights, and at the intermediates, he's definitely not a driver you want to mess with. He knows what it's like, he knows what it takes to win, and he's going to continue proving that time and time again. If, of course, now he gets himself a little bit of wide open room, he's going to use it to the fullest. You got 67 laps in. Chuck Sweeting, Kyle Cooper will be there in the 10th spot just ahead. Chad Mikas 9th, Braxton Ruiz 8th, Matthew Thunor 7th, so on and so forth. And even look back and there's some continued battles. Adam Wood here going to be with Alan Rawell and some of the better-known drivers in the back half of the field. Adam Wood has come back for the good majority of 2024. Alan Rawell, as iconic as he's been, still trying to find the fruits of his labor as a consistent driver for well over 12 years in the Integrity Racing League. Maybe on a little bit of a downturn, shall we say. We've seen Alan before with competitive speed as recently as last summer, so maybe he's got a chance to bring it back in him. Right now, though, he's running solidly in 16th and running ahead of Brandon Bernhardt and Tom Wetmore alike. Although for Wetmore, it looks like that's largely because he's still not on the lead lap. At the head of the field, side by side, teammates battling at the line. Lap number 69. Nice advantage here for Nick Tarbuck of only a few 1,000ths of a second. It's good enough for him to lead the lap. Coming up next with him, it's going to be Jacob Fife. Watch out for that number 63, of course, not on the track tonight, but you're sure that Jim Fife is watching on as his son is looking to take the lead. While Fife, of course, Jacob is most often the one driving. Usually on these races, you'll see both accounts registered. Most often, Jim Fife and the number 63 team registering as a spectator, perhaps giving a little bit of guidance and spotting for Jacob here, the number 36, who's run this league now since 2012. He's put himself on for a pretty good campaign as of late. The start of the season actually might have been stronger for Jacob Fife. You remembered his second place finish at USA International and the aforementioned win in Talladega, but it looks like now he's really coming into his own because he's gotten away from the pack, and more than that, he might be able to put himself inside of that DIR sandwich. 70 laps to go when the field comes across the line again. Nick Tarbuck is your race leader and looking to make it 2 consecutive. Meanwhile, Thomas Bressi and Vinny Tigner fight to hang on here for P4. Matthew Thunor is going to be up and ahead in the battle as well. He's in 6th place. You can watch here as the number 24 runs down the back straightaway, and it looks like for Thomas Bressi, he is good to go side by side with Vinny Tigner alike. Vinny's been able to get the advantage on the inside for the past few laps, but you can see maybe a little bit of a reverse slide job here. Thomas Bressi tucks right back in directly, and it looks like he's got enough to once again fan out to the outside again. Matthew Thunor getting the best seat in the house for all of this. He's done a pretty good job of being the onlooker. Number 8 machine of Matthew Thunor is right there, but it hasn't been able to get any room and any speed to really make any passes. Alan Rawell once again toe-to-toe here, this time with Gael Brooks. Brooks is going to make it by the number 69, and that will put Gael up into the 18th position. Adam Wood coming up on a 3-wide battle with Michael Stroll and Tom Wetmore. Not good news here for Michael Stroll, and we were wondering, did he get away from that incident unscathed? I don't think so. He's having serious troubles here, even hanging on for a top 15 spot. And while his car looks fine, I think there's something under the hood. It's almost a bug, shall we say. You can't get it out once it starts. Once these troubles begin, it's impossible to sort of reverse the course for your night. Yeah, it's going to be bad news for Michael Stroll, and it almost effectively puts him in a must-win position. Something you can't even see on the car right now might be the difference between him going to the top 5 or bowing out next week. Now, unfortunately for him, that's all that he's going to have to worry about. His teammates are doing a good job at the head of the pack, but for Michael Stroll, bad news, and it could get worse, of course, if he continues to get past. Right now, your top 10 goes as follows. Nick Tarbuck and Rob Ackley for Domination Intimidation Racing run 1st and 2nd. Then you got 3rd place in Jacob Fife. 4th will be Vinny Tigner, and 5th will be Matthew Thunor if he can only get by Thomas Bressi. For right now, though, Bressi is 5th. Matthew Funhorst is in 6th. Cody Smith is 7th. Braxton Ruiz is 8th. Chad Mikas is 9th, and Don Stevenson rounds out the top 10 in the white and pink number 47. Now with a total of only 66 laps to go, we're going to give you our iRacing halftime break, and of course, give some thanks to the eNASCAR World iRacing as well. Parker White, a former FTN winner as early as 2022, he was just crowned the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion. Anyone can get their start, and anyone can become a sim racing professional if you start your journey live on FTN Broadcasting, but moreover on iRacing, the #1 online motorsport platform since 2008, and for more now than 16 years, iRacing has kept the simulation racing community alive and thriving with over 100 cars and tracks, and I think at this rate we're going to double that number any day now. Visit iRacing.com for information on how to register before the holiday season begins, and we're going to return after a brief message from our friends at iRacing.com.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
62 laps remaining right now. Cody Smith is P8, and he's getting a little bit closer now to that head of the field, although Jacob Fife is now falling backward. Domination Intimidation Racing's top 2 drivers are breaking away further, and notably, Nick Tarbuck might be on the track to go for 2 consecutive wins. And I think if you told this number 29 team 3 weeks ago that they would be the premier driver in the field for back-to-back wins, I don't know if Nick Tarbuck would believe it. I don't know if I would believe it here. He's been solid. It's no doubt, but to say that he is the #1 driver straight up in this round of 10, well, we really didn't see that one coming. Nevertheless, Nick Tarbuck has been defying expectations, and with that, he's continuing to lead laps and breaking himself apart from the rest of the field. Ackley going to be 2nd, Jacob Fife is 3rd, Vinny Tigner is in 4th alike. P5 is also Thomas Bresci here. Thomas has been able to get up to the top 5, and although it has been a struggle, it looks like he's going to get some net gains out of the night. So let's talk a little bit more about that championship picture and give you a brief profile of what we're looking at here in the round of 10. An ever-changing battle between the best of the best here in the next level race for the championship. You'll see only one driver who's locked in, and that's, of course, the one and only Nick Tarbuck, who's already got 1 win, and he's leading right now. He's in a wonderful position. And in all honesty, it does not get better than that. Then you got Thomas Bresci, who's up 18 points right now. Not a significant buffer. Anything above 10 is a good buffer, but it isn't significant. One bad race could wipe that all out. Right now, Thomas Bresci's having a solid race inside the top 5, so his concerns should be minimal. Then you've got Braxton Ruiz in 10th, who's up 10 points. Right now, Braxton is running in 7th, so that's about par for the course. I don't see him gaining anything too much. He did get a lead lap bonus. He might come away from this race with a few positive points if he finishes inside the top 10. You got Matthew Funhorst, who's then up 3 points, and talk about marginal. Right now, he's behind Jacob Fife, who is on the bubble, so this is a good race. It's not necessarily good enough to make significant gains. Jacob Fife is battling Blake Gordon on the bubble, and this is things, of course, that can get interesting when it comes to circumstance. both Blake Gordon and Michael Stroll were involved in that most recent caution. Both of them have suffered as a result. They are currently 6th and 8th in the championship standings, and while Blake Gordon has recovered slightly better, they're both doing significantly worse than Rob Ackley. Rob finding himself in 4th right now, which means he would be most likely to jump above both the number 3 and the number 19 alike. Don Stevenson additionally is running ahead of Gordon and Michael Stroll, but he's still behind Rob Ackley, so he's most likely to end the night under the cut line unless he makes some significant changes in the next few laps. Lastly, you have DJ Stagner. He is not championship eligible lest he get the win next week. That's a brief championship overview right now. In the picture, it's pretty clear. Nick Tarbuck winning would mean that next week is an open hunt for everyone. Doesn't matter if you're 2nd in the championship, if you're all the way down to 10th like DJ Stagner, a win will lock you in. Additionally, good performances will have to lock you in. If Nick Tarbuck does the job again, wins once more, it's going to be a very interesting week. Next week will be, as we have ourselves Magic Mile, 150 laps, 150 miles. Not a track we go to all too often. Last time we went there, it was a toe-to-toe battle between Sam Nieto and Jacob Fife in the Octane Series, and Jacob was the man who came out on top of which. So potentially Jacob does that again. Tonight, though, it looks like he might not even need to go for a win if he just hangs on where he is. And talk about a championship spoiler, Vinny Tigner doing a wonderful job up at the head of the pack. He's now here with 54 laps to go in 2nd, and it looks like this is about his best race of his career. He's gotten a podium before, but it's been a long time since that point, and as it stands, it looks like, well, he finds himself again in a real good position to go for a top 3. Maybe a race victory will be up next on the, of course, schedule for Vinny Tigner. He's done a pretty good job in his S&T career, especially this year, breaking out for 2 victories on the year, 1 in each season, 2024A and 2024B. Still, the Integrity Ignite Series has been the one spot he has not been able to reach. Vinny's still going to be 0.3 of a second up on Jacob Fife, and you got Thomas Bressie here right alongside Ackley and Braxton Ruiz. Taking a look here with Rob Ackley, who's stuck in the middle of the battle. It looks like, unfortunately for the 22 team, he is falling back. Position is going to be marginal, of course, for Rob Ackley, 5th and 6th. There's very little meaning when it comes to those very small differences, but victory and defeat for Rob Ackley is another thing. He cannot fall further back to drivers like Bressie or Matthew Thunhorst, and that's where it becomes a big problem. A significant issue is, of course, if he continues to drop back and potentially outside of the single digits, that's when things get risky. And you can see now Thomas Bressie putting down the pressure. This would be for 5th, and it looks like now to the inside, the 24's got him. 51 laps to go. Rob Ackley remains up top. Matthew Thunhorst remains on the high side too. We'll see what happens here with Don Stevenson in that number 47 as he lies low. He's been as calm and consistent as they come, and that is textbook Don Stevenson here. Really not doing all too much in regards to being a necessarily aggressive driver. Instead, he's going to bide his time and see what else happens ahead of him. And I think that's just the Don Stevenson way. It got him a victory in Atlanta in the Octane Series, and maybe he can get him up there and for a top 5 of the Ignite Series. Of course, he's a driver who we did not expect to even make it into the round of 10, but so far he has been continuing raising the bar, even if he hasn't been all too predictable. 2 drivers come down a pit road. Now it looks like Alan Rowell is the first of which. Then you got Michael Stroll. Michael's going to drop down and in 91 laps in, out of now 140. And as he goes in, that AC Delco Chevrolet is going to get himself 4 tires and fuel, being one of the earliest of which on the racing circuit. As he gets back on the move, that might be a pit stop that keeps him in championship contention with a little bit potentially of extra damage repair to go with. So, when we talk about the championship race, Next Level Racing, that's the next name you gotta mention. Live on FTN, the Next Level race for the championship has been all about consistency, all about high performance level, all about being the best of the best when it matters the most. And for Next Level Racing, that's what they're all about, presenting and delivering high quality sim racing performance products for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. We say it about 6 times every week, and I think we'd say it doubly so if we had the chance. Next Level Racing is the place to go for all of your sim racing hardware needs. And, of course, the winner of the Integrity Ignite Series Championship will be given a $2,000 sim rig, courtesy of our friends at Next Level Racing. Visit their website at nextlevelracing.com for additional information. Before, of course, we come back, we're going to give you a brief message from our friends at nextlevelracing.com. 45 laps to go, 48 laps into the stint, and you might notice very similar numbers when we talk about those stints. Lap after lap, the difference, it's becoming clear. Old tires and new tires are going to be substantial changes. Over the course of the last few laps, well, Nick Tarbuck has been running about 2 seconds slower than his fastest overall. His quickest lap was a 30.601. Last time by, it was a 32.076. So, quickly, we're seeing these tires fall off more and more and more again. And I think for Nick Tarbuck, he's got to decide when to come down and in. I mean, at this rate, undercutting, well, we don't know if it's going to be the way to go. This is the one part of this race that we haven't seen. Green flag pit stops that are effectively uncharted grounds for every driver. But now we're seeing drivers head down and in. It's a gaggle of cars battling for 8th, but those that were previously in that position, they just decided to concede. The first drivers in include Matthew Thunders, Cody Smith, Chad Mikas, all of which that come down together, and now you're seeing not only drivers coming in, but also those of which you find themselves up inside of the championship battle. And while there's of course some championship spoilers mixed in, like Kyle Cooper and Mikas alike, now you're starting to see implications for this race that might go from here to the checkered flag in Homestead. Nick Tarbuck, the number 29, 99 laps in. So far, he's doing a real good job up and ahead, but eventually he's got to give. Looks like one driver just did. That is Daniel Foss, not going to be in leading contention. There's also Adam Wood here. And I'll, of course, see, now what's up next for Michael Stroll. We're all going to see. The big question now becomes, does Michael Stroll have anything left in him? 7 laps on this stint. And it looks like right now his lap times aren't particularly slower than the old tires, but they're definitely slower than those on a new rubber. Number 3's AC Delco machine doesn't look to be remarkably quick at all, and facing these difficulties is going to be a problem if, of course, Michael Stroll wants any chance for a solid finish line. If you're right on board here, you'll see Matthew Thunders, who is on new rubber, will pull away fast. And while coming up on some drivers like Gael Brooks and, of course, Brian McFerrin, they're slicing down a pit road for Michael Stroll. He does not have the pace to keep up there and the X factor to keep up with, of course, those championship leaders. Braxton Ruiz, Jacob Fife coming in as one. Then you got Brian McFerrin and Blake Gordon coming together again. 39 laps to go here in the Sin City 210, and another gaggle of drivers decide to come in. Blake Gordon, it looks like he's got a chance maybe to hang on for a top 10. If he does, a little bit more tonight. New rubber might help him out. He's been particularly struggling when it comes to those longer green flag runs, but he comes in after a 38-lap stint. Well, he extended it by some 20 laps. He went 55 laps here. Nick Tarbuck, your race leader, decides to opt into pit road, and as he makes it in now, he just got onto his stall, 21 seconds in the pit lane, and it looks like he's on par for a pretty solid pit road entry and exit. Nothing too out of the ordinary for your current race leader. Net race leader is going to be Vinny Tigner, and he will also concede. That will give Thomas Bressi, for the first time all night long, his provisional race lead and lap-led bonus. So Thomas Bressi now going to be right alongside Rob Ackley, and with Ackley, the number 22, already having those bonuses, there's little in, of course, the benefit for the 22 team to take a lap by force again. He'll just wait, and he gets the perfect opportunity now. Thomas Bressi dives down and in. It's going to be Don Stevenson and Rob Ackley now together. 57 laps in for the each of which Don has not yet led a lap tonight, and after 57 laps of waiting, this might be his best, and it might be his only opportunity. So far now, coming down the back straightaway, Rob Ackley has only a 1/10 of a second lead. Ackley's getting close. He'll look up high, but it looks like now, if he doesn't get the lead this time through, he'll have to wait until Rob concedes. Both happen at the same time. Rob Ackley goes down a pit road. Don Stevenson, for the first time tonight, will get his lap-led bonus. And slowly but surely, as we see more drivers get that little extra token of leading a lap, it will be a little bit less meaningful each and every time through. Now, that's not to say it's not critical, but the more drivers get it, the less it means with respect to everyone else. Rob Ackley goes down. Now Don Stevenson has the crown on track, but Nick Tarbuck already just put him about a lap down. So Don Stevenson's going to find himself to pit road here, nearly going to miss it on the outskirts, but it looks like he's all together again. With him will be Tom Wetmore. Wetmore is going to find himself down a pit road for the second time in this cycle, it appears, and as he drops into pit road after a 56-lap stint, Tom Wetmore, 35 laps to go, sees the caution. Yellow flags out, and an incident for the number 18 of Cody Smith. Smith is in trouble, and we've got ourselves a yellow flag for only the second time tonight. Caution is out. And a shocker is the 18 of Cody Smith having some big trouble here. Let's find out why. So, taking a look here, the number 18 machine of Cody Smith, contact with Foss and hooked up the track. Nasty incident for both drivers involved. Luckily, nobody else gets hit on the way around. Cody Smith and Daniel Foss. Bad incident for both of which, and it, I think, is a race ender for definitely Daniel Foss. Unlikely Cody Smith has anything left in him there after taking a horrendous smack into the outside wall through turns 1 and 2. 34 laps to go this time by. Pit road, every driver just hit, so that's not going to be of any driver's concern. Wow, what an incident. And only a few laps earlier, it could have changed the race entirely. Now that every driver's gone down to pit road, it means pretty little. But with that being said, it's going to be a sprint from here to the checkered flag, especially now with this big reset. Everyone's going to come back together on a relatively similar level of tire wear and about the same level of fuel, and it's going to be a dash to the checkered flag from this point onward. .33 laps to go this time around. You've got Nick Tarbuck, who finds himself, of course, in the leading position, Matthew Thunor second, and Don Stevenson in third. 33 laps to go this time by gives us an opportunity under caution to bring you your final Next Level Racing promotional break of the day, all as one. From this point onward, you'll have uninterrupted coverage live on FTN, lest, of course, we have any additional incidents, which I don't believe we're going to have, as long as everyone keeps themselves together. So, we'd once again like to to thank Next Level Racing for their continued support live on FTN of the Integrity Ignite, Octane Series, and the Integrity Racing League as a whole. We'll be right back after a message from the Integrity Racing League's premier partner, and with 33 laps to go, you're watching the Sin City 210, race number 28 on the Ignite Series schedule. We'll be back after this. You're watching live on FTN, the Next Level Race to the Championship, brought to you by NextLevelRacing.com. "32 laps remaining, and when we go back green, we'll only have ourselves 30 laps left on the docket. Welcome back to Sin City. Things are looking different after we had ourselves a 60-plus lap green flag run, cut short by an incident, Cody Smith and Daniel Foss involved, both of which retirees for the night. Nick Tarbuck, on the verge of what could be his second consecutive victory, just has to go around the track for some 30 more times to seal the deal. Maybe he's got a chance to do so, but now he could be thwarted. Everyone with them, the track position advantage he carefully built up for the better half of this race, it's not gone, but it definitely is minimal. Only a few tenths of a second separate he from the back of the field. Every mistake matters that much more now. Performance must be optimal. You cannot slip up. 31 laps to go. Nick Tarbuck really, he could slip up and it wouldn't affect his championship standing, but I'm sure now he'd love to go for 2 consecutive wins just because. Matthew Thunhorse needs a good race, of course. Don Stevenson needs a good race. Everyone behind, besides Nick Tarbuck, is still looking to lock themselves into the championship 5 or just looking to take a win to take a win. Tarbuck has the lowest stakes on the track, and yet he's the leader coming to this restart. Going to be interesting to see how the field treats him, given that maybe you'll see a little bit of a different approach because he's already got himself in the final round of the championship here. Hopefully, of course, it doesn't lead to any chaos, but we'll see as the iRacing official pace car heads down to pit road once again. Nick Tarbuck and Matthew Thunhorse, it's a very familiar combo up at the front of the field, will bring us back. Nick with a wonderful jump once again. Little else can be said as the number 29 leads the field with now 30 laps to go. Nick Tarbuck going to get on the way, and it looks like he's going to keep that car length gap. He got it on the restart, and he has held it. 3 wide it could be now with Matthew Thunhorse and Braxton Deweese. That it is. One's got to give, and it looks like it'll be Thunhorse quickly. Braxton Deweese, though, is going to opt to go to the bottom. A little bit of contact now for the number 8. He'll get loose, slide ever so slightly, but he'll stay straight. Jacob Fife now decides to look to the bottom side, and it looks like he's got himself a good position here to maybe make a move. Gridlock on the the bottom groove is not going to help him, but he's got the advantage when it comes to track position relative to someone like Matthew Thunhorst. Thunhorst has cleaner air, and this is when it becomes a battle of distance and speed. So far, it looks like Matthew Thunhorst is winning the battle, but he might not win the war here. Jacob Fife now has enough room in front of him to go crazy, and it looks like now Vinnie Signer has to make a choice. His choice will be to go down low. Fife goes down lower, and Matthew Thunhorst stays just ahead of the both of which. 28 laps to go this time around. Don Stevenson toe-to-toe now with the number 13 of Braxton Louise. Side by side, going right at each other again. It looks like Don's going to keep himself up on the high side, and he won't quit. What a race it would be for Don Stevenson. Keep in mind that he is the 9th seed in the championship. A podium would be massive, especially with Nick Tarbuck winning. It would put him above the cut line going into next week's race. And a second place finish will be that much more important. And Don Stevenson is still keeping himself there. Chad Mikus is going to come around and watch, but there's no teammates in the matter for Mikus. I don't think he's going to play any favorites. Don Stevenson slides ever so slightly. Now, third place is going to fade back to fourth if the number 25 machine, well, of course, gets by. Now it's going to be Chad Mikus putting down some pressure on the bottom. 47 is Stevenson up top. 26 laps to go, and Chad Mikus now has himself some good room. Here comes Jacob Fife again. Fife might have a chance to put himself back in the podium. And now that we're getting ourselves shuffled out, one thing is evident. Nick Tarbuck is leading. You got Braxton Louise there in second, and everyone else is going to be fighting until the checkered flag comes calling. Third place. Now it's going to be all in the domain of Don Stevenson once more. This will give Jacob Fife the shot in the arm to go to the bottom. And now, well, it's looking pretty clear that the number 36 isn't done in his own right. Might see Stevenson and Fife following each other. Vinnie Signer, Matthew Thunhorst, positions 6, 7, 8, also going to include, of course, Rob Ackley. Blake Gordon also inside the top 10 now, and what a turnaround it would be if Blake Gordon finds himself a little bit further up in front. Both he and Michael Stroll involved in that very first caution, but otherwise, it looks like for Gordon, he's been able to turn around better than the number 3. Tom Wetmore getting in the mix, he's in 10th. 24 of Thomas Bressie also right there. 24 laps to go, coming to 23. 23 laps to go this time around. Nick Tarbuck, 118 laps in. He is in control. It looks like he might have a chance to go for 2 consecutive victories with a 4/10 of a second advantage over the rest of the pack. Now, Don Stevenson goes side by side with Deweese again, but with 22 laps to go, as always, live on FTN, we're going to crank it up, courtesy of the best providers of camera on the iRacing market. TrackCams22.com, bringing us, for now, more than 2 seasons, the best angles in all of virtual motorsport. Visit TrackCams22.com for additional information as we are going to take you through the sights and sounds of the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 22 to go here in Sin City. Let's crank it up here in Las Vegas. Nick Tarbuck finds himself your race leader. Every other spot continues to be up for the entire field's taking. How about Tom Wetmore looking at the inside here? Take a look at the 0-8. He's back up on the lead lap. Started this one 2 laps down. Got the lucky brakes, got the lucky dog twice over. And now he finds himself in top 10 and might have a chance to go for 6 if he gets by horse Jacob Fife just ahead. So far, though, it hasn't come to fruition, but it looks like the closest that Tom Wetmore's been all night long, just a few tenths of a second apart. For Wetmore, he's been putting up some very impressive runs in his part-time Integrity Ignite Series campaign, one that hasn't been all too long based on competing in the FTF Grand National Series, but for what he's shown so far, he has definitely proven to be a very impressive driver. That's something that if you watch on Tuesday nights, you'll probably understand that to this point. The Octane Series is no joke, and Tom Wetmore for the longest time has been one of its best drivers. Wetmore goes around. Tom Wetmore sliding. The caution's out. He'll slam into Chuck Sweeting. Chuck Sweeting slams into Brian McFerrin. And if we're looking back on that one, it might have just been driver error. Tom Wetmore, talk about unfortunate timing, and he'll go around. And this will bring us to a caution with just under 15 laps to go. Oh, contact with Jacob Fife. That was not just driver error. It looked like he got taken up the track, and the 36 is going to do him in. Wetmore destroyed. Then you see Chuck Sweeting. Sweeting's out of this race as well. Horrible for the number 08 of Tom Wetmore. First and foremost, what a drive it was to get up to that point, and he is going to be taken right out. Looks like Fife gets through it, and we'll look back one more time to see what really occurred. And with a closer angle anyway, because it looks like it might have just been a driver's error. If you pull it back, was there officially contact? This is sometimes something we see in virtual motorsport. The difference can be close, but it isn't always necessarily contact. We're trying to get a better angle on this one, and if we look from this end, look at this. It looks like there was some space. Wetmore was there. Oh, it's close. It's very close. Oh, but I think Tom Wetmore might have just gotten hooked up. Not by Jacob Fife, but just... maybe the simulator was misreading the space there. Unfortunate for both of them because Wetmore and Fife running such good races as drivers come down to pit road. Take a look back live. Michael Stroll has now scored as your race leader. Then from there you got Braxton Deweese in second. The 47 to Don Stevenson coming up. Nick Tarbuck is now in fourth. And this is something we did not expect to see. Shades of when Nick Tarbuck lost the win at North Wilkesboro in the final 15 laps. It looks like once again he's not in the leading position, and the same man who took it from him in Wilkes County is leading again, except of course for Michael Stroll. 12 laps to go. Now Braxton Deweese has position. Drivers going to be warming up their tires, swerving back and forth, and getting prepared to go at it once again. 12 laps to go, and it looks like when we restart, it will be 10 laps remaining. Michael Stroll, Braxton Deweese, Don Stevenson. That's the podium as it stands. A little bit of time here live on FTN, so we're going to thank some of our associates before we go back to green. You're watching the Sin City 210, and you're watching FTN's nonstop coverage here of the Integrity Ignite Series. We'll return right after this.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
10 laps to go. When we go green, it'll only be 9. Coming down only the single digits here, and Michael Stroll is going to play the biggest gamble of the night. And we wondered if anyone could find a way to sort of separate from the main strategy. It looks like the one and only to do so will be Stroll here in the number 3. Michael now finds himself in the perfect position to do something different, and he's going to have to if he wants any chance to head to victory lane. It'll be Michael Stroll and Braxton Ruiz first and second, with Don Stevenson third, Nick Tarbuck in P4, but it's significantly older rubber here for Michael. It's going to be tricky. Although not impossible, it's not going to be an easy road to victory lane here. He's going to need an awful lot of help. Now it's time to go racing once again. We're going to have ourselves 9 laps left. The single digits are all that remain, and it's going to be the number 3, hoping to get a good restart here alongside Braxton DeWeese. Green flags out, and a great launch there for the number 3. All things considered, Michael Stroll gets the best jump of all, and now he'll lead us back with 9 laps remaining in Las Vegas. Now it's going to be side by side. Braxton Luis and Michael Stroll already. Braxton taking it to the bottom. This would lock him in to the round of 5. Looking to have a seat in the championship. Braxton takes the lead, but Nick Tarbuck is looking to take it back. 8 laps to go. Tarbuck goes down to the bottom of the apron, and he's not done yet. Nick is looking to assert his dominance tonight, and he's already finding himself to the inside, trying to make a move on the 13. Braxton's going to go up top. Vinny Tigner slides out of the frame, out of concern. We stay green. All of a sudden, it looks like Tarbuck shoots out of a cannon, and he won't let anyone get away with the win unless it's him. Perfect move there throughout corners in 3 and 4. Now the Hornet's Nest is what we got to focus on. Don Stevenson, Jacob Fife, Michael Stroll all going at each other. Michael is clinging to the top 10, trying desperately to stay within the confines of the single digits, but it's not getting easy here with everyone significantly quicker around him. Now even Adam Wood is coming up in the picture. Chad Mikas to the inside, maybe trying to deliver some help here. It's a teammate for Domination Intimidation Racing, alongside each other as they've been for the majority of the race, and now they're back together again in a crucial moment. Stroll now in 10th. He's got, of course, contact in the back. Don Stevenson into the number 81 of Brandon Bernhardt. The caution will fly. We are going to overtime. Yellow flags out again. Going to be a 2-lap shootout from this point. And so, trouble brewing in the late stage of Las Vegas. Caution's out again. Take a quick look back and you'll see just, of course, what caused the incident. Hooking up the track there, Don Stevenson. A great race gone sour, and he's not going to gain anything out of this. When it comes to the championship race, significantly worse news than, of course, Stevenson would have expected. He had a wonderful race going, battling inside the top 5, but it looks like if he's going to make any gains now, it's going to come down to next week. Looks like he still has a drivable car, but it's not going to be all too easy for him to keep things going. 5 laps to go. Brandon Bernhardt also on the way as we look back to your live feed. And the restart coming very soon will be one determined by a 2-lap shootout here. Once again, Domination Intimidation Racing first and second. It looks like the big team once again getting the big break. So Nick Tarbuck able to restore that track position, and as long as he keeps it here, he would be able to win and collect the checkered flag once again. 5 laps to go, coming down only 4 laps remaining, and Nick Tarbuck here, he has been wonderful. He's been the dominant man tonight. He was the dominant man last week, and 2 consecutive victories could be on the horizon if, of course, Tarbuck can hang on here and now. Checkered flag is just a few moments away if, of course, he keeps this position, but also an increasing likelihood that Rob Ackley puts himself in the battle looking for his own win. We didn't really expect to see him even in that most recent run with just about 6 laps to go. all of a sudden, it looks like Rob Ackley has returned. And with him returning, he's looking to be stronger than before. Now, if he, of course, gets a win, he'd be able to lock himself up into the round of 5 and stand alongside his championship contending teammate in Nick Tarbuck. And for DIR, maybe the best situation for the both of which would be for Rob Ackley to win, almost as a safety net for the team so they can continue to practice and have someone to lean on in the most important events. We'll see, of course, what happens. Braxton Deweese third. Thomas Bressie remains in fourth. Now going 2x2 once again. 2 laps to go when we go green. This is a natural green-white checker. With that in mind, this will not count toward our overtime procedure, in which if we have any other yellow flags, the race will still be extended. The goal is, of course, when we get to the white flag, the race is official no matter what. However, we still have up to 3 overtime attempts in our back pocket where we can extend this race up to about lap 147 if absolutely necessary. Now, hopefully that does not occur, but if it's needed, it will happen, and so drivers should be prepared for the prospect of going a little bit longer. Fuel and tire will not be an issue for anyone except for Michael Stroll, who's on a 30-lap stint right now, and I'll tell you this much for Stroll, the cautions have helped him out, so I don't think he'll be all too concerned as well. 3 miles, 2 laps, this is what it comes down to. Michael Stroll's in the further back portion of the field, but 2 of his teammates are leading the race. Nick Tarbuck, last week's winner. Rob Ackley, who finds himself in second. And this is it. 2 laps to go here in Las Vegas. Let's go racing once again. iRacing official pace car will descend to pit road. It looks like next time by, we're going to get an extension on the yellow flag. And so, with that coming out, this is interesting. I think now we're going to have an overtime finish that counts toward our attempts. Yes, race will be extended to lap 141. Extended caution means that we will go beyond lap 140. This is attempt 1 of 3 in overtime. So this is what it's all about. We still have a majority of our championship contending drivers in the realm of the conversation for victory. Nick Tarbuck and Rob Ackley, of course, are first and foremost, but don't count out Thomas Bressie and Braxton Deweese right behind. They've kept themselves honest, they've kept themselves in the picture, and now they've got to fight for it. This overtime will count toward our 3 attempts. If we go to the white flag, the race is official. If not, the race extends and we will go again for another green-white checkered finish, up to 3 attempts if absolutely necessary. Now time for the pace car to go down to pit road for what could be the final time. Nick Tarbuck is looking for 2 consecutive victories. Rob Ackley is looking for his first of the season. Let's find out which of the teammates goes to victory lane, if any of them. Green flags out, Nick Tarbuck with the perfect jump. Battle further back, already going to be developing. Now Braxton Deweese finds himself second. Side by side for third will be Thomas Bressie and Rob Ackley alike. And Matthew Thunhorst is in P5. Now you got Kyle Cooper looking strong. Cooper up to the top side. He's got new rubber as well. And everyone comes across the stripe in one piece. 1 lap to go. Still going to be Nick Tarbuck up and ahead. And looks like that's so long as he makes no mistakes here. 2 turns to go after this set. Side by side for second, Bressie and Dunhorst. They're both going to make some substantial gains here so long as they stay with each other. Big wreck in the back. Jacob Fife involved in company. And we've got something to look back on before we go to our interviews. Nevertheless, it looks like our first interview for tonight will be the same man we saw last week. 2 consecutive wins for Nick Tarbuck, winning here in Las Vegas. And the dominant man of the round of 10 has proved his worth. 2 straight wins. It's his second of the season. Tarbuck and DIR win another one. All of a sudden, the number 29 is the man to beat in the Integrity Racing League. Eligible for both championships and already locked in a 1. He's got a chance to lock himself into the second tomorrow night. And it looks like all of a sudden, despite his prolonged success in the Octane Series, Nick Tarbuck has made himself a late favorite here in the Integrity Ignite campaign. His second win and a dominant one as well. And in the past 2 races, nobody can stop the number 29. He's going to help out his teammate Michael Stroll in getting across the line here. And it looks like they're going to celebrate together. Nick Tarbuck will continue to burn down the front straightaway. The number 29 is back. And he left just a week ago from victory lane. He finds it once again. Checkered flag is out, and Nick Tarbuck will win from Thomas Bressie, and third place will then be Braxton Deweese. Rob Ackley comes home in the 4th position. Big race for him, as Matthew Thunhorst is then and there going to be in 5th, with Gael Brooks 6th, one of his best performances on the season, and Adam Wood with his best on the campaign. He will come away in 7th. Brennan Bernhardt will then be in 8th, and you'll have 9th in Don Stevenson, 10th in Alan Rawell, and the 11th place goes then to Blake Gordon. Kyle Cooper's 12th, Jacob Fife is 13th, and Chad Mike is into the 14th position with Michael Stroll 15th, Vinny Tigner 16th, and Brian McFerrin then 17th. Tom Wetmore's P18, Chuck Sweeting 14 laps down is in 19th, and it'll be Andrew Schaub in 20th. Final 2 drivers on the day, Cody Smith and Daniel Foss. We're taking a look back to that incident that happened at the tail end of the race here and trying to figure out exactly what it's caused. And it looks like white flag. Things are getting a little bit close between Fife and company. Chad Mike is there too. 3 wide up the track to the racing room, and everyone comes into one another. Nevertheless, they all get back to the start-finish line eventually, but only one driver can get away with the race win. Iowa, he found victory lane, and it looks like tonight he will find it again. DIR sees their top driver double locked into the round of 5, and if last week didn't count at all, you'd have this week to fall back on. Nick, your second consecutive win, and it looked like tonight came about as easy to you as it did Iowa. Welcome back.
Hey man, good to see you again. Good to see you again. It feels good getting the first interview slot now and again. Yeah, man, it was tell you what, Iowa was kind of not a fluke, but I didn't know what to expect. Don't race that track at all. Super unfamiliar with Iowa. But Las Vegas I had success with in the Next-Gen car a couple seasons ago. Did pretty well in the Gen 4 car. And this car felt super neutral, super good. It felt just like you could really run it hard low, run it hard high. You can make passes wherever. I mean, it was awesome, man. It was another one of those races where once I got in the groove of it, I'm like, I've got to win this thing. I mean, it's just like I had to win, so I just tried as hard as I could and got it done.
And it looks like tonight you, Rob Ackley, the entire DIR team coming together and having some major pace from the beginning. Qualify, of course, would set it forth. You had good track position from the start. How was it here in Las Vegas? We've been here before, but never with the nighttime conditions in the playoffs.
It was interesting because in the practice sessions during the daytime, it was a little bit slippery after maybe 3 or 4 laps. You could kind of kick the back end out a lot. And you really couldn't carry that much speed into the corner. But at nighttime, man, those last couple laps, I was full throttle, all of 1 and 2, and then barely off throttle in 3 and 4. There's so much grip at night. So I used that to my advantage. I was able to really turn the car in and get under people if I had to, or just make moves pretty much wherever I had to. But it was a bit of a wake-up call coming from practice. We were expecting the race to go one way, then it went entirely differently.
And nevertheless, you're able to hold off and win even with that green-white checkered overtime finish. I would ask you if you had any concern, but look, you pulled away and had no trouble getting out in front of the field.
Yeah, I had some concerns there with the restart before that. I had to make a pretty risky move on Braxton. I need to watch that. I think I passed in the grass there, which is pretty pretty wild. But yeah, I was pretty worried on that one because I lost some track position. But once I got back in the lead, I also wasn't clear because Rob was coming with a full head of steam. He had a lot to race for tonight, and props to him for getting a good finish and running well because he's racing to get locked in as well as part of the team here. And I was not comfortable at all, and even less so after that. After we had to have a green-white checkered, and I was just like, if I don't get a good start, if I don't jump this perfectly, then I'm going to be eaten up because I know that Rob has a lot to race for. Luckily, I just timed it perfectly, and I guess they weren't expecting it behind me, and I was able to run away pretty much unscathed. But yeah, man, it was not. I would have liked to just go on green and finish a couple seconds ahead instead of just half a second.
And nevertheless, a victory is a victory, and you're second in a row here, so really no concerns about being locked in anymore. And it comes down to our final race before the championship finale, New Hampshire. So we discussed it being 2 weeks out in the horizon last week. Well, it's getting a little bit closer. How do you feel about your chances heading back to the Magic Mile?
Yeah, I'm not going to say never. New Hampshire is typically not a track style that I like too much. It depends on the setup, really. If it's super just edgy on throttle and it really wants to spin out, then I probably won't do super well. But if I can really feel the car and balance it on the edge of control exiting the corner, then I might do well. But I'm really I came into tonight not really with too much pressure, obviously, and it worked out pretty well. So I'll go into the same way next weekend or next race next Monday, and we'll see how it goes. I'm just gonna go out there and have some fun. Hope that some of the other guys in my team can get locked into the championship final race, and yeah, man, let's hope that my winning streak can keep going all the way to Homestead. That'd be nice.
And above all else, leading the charge for domination, intimidation racing, and another win to go with it. Nick Tarbuck, checkered flag is yours tonight. Any last comments or messages you'd like to give out?
Sure, man. I want to thank you, as always, for putting on a great stream. Thanks to the admins for putting on a good race. Thanks to everybody who came out tonight. It was fun out there. Thanks to everybody who watched. That'd be my mom, my dad, my wife, the boys back home, and everybody else who tunes in to watch these things. That's about it. I guess we'll see you next week.
And now, of course, maybe looking for 3 consecutive. Nick Tarbuck back-to-back here with another win in Las Vegas. Thank you again for your time.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
And with the 29 team on the move here, that's Nick Tarbuck, your race winner for DIR. Then we have Thomas Bresci, a driver who didn't look to have immediate speed, but picked it up again for a similar finish, the exact same one again for the second consecutive week. Second place, but tonight you had to work for it, Thomas. It looks like another good points day that should have you, effectively speaking, moving on to the championship finale.
Yeah, I hope so. I've got to see where the points shake out, but it's definitely a challenging night. I don't think the result sheet's really going to tell the whole story for us because it was almost over before it began. Just a lot of it was very difficult tonight, just with the pace. Like you could either run like pretty much almost wide open around the whole racetrack, or pretty close, and then you wouldn't have tire later, or were you trying to like, pedal it and then have something later? So there was a little bit of that going on at the beginning, and I kind of got chopped a little bit into three and tried to check up not to wreck the guy, and then I kind of got myself turned. So it's like, great, the night's already over. Um, just kind of stuck with it. I don't know. It was a challenge though, that's for sure. Was able to kind of work my way back forward a little bit. Kind of got lucky with some of the strategy stuff and the yellows. Got me caught up at least, and was able to get some decent halfway points, which was great. And then was thinking maybe the overcut was going to be the right call. So that's why I stayed out, ended up getting the lap led in the process doing that. And then I don't know truthfully if the overcut was going to be the way to go, or at least going as far as I did, but then got that yellow and caught me right back up, and just tried to pick my way through there at the end, and glad it kind of worked out. But yeah, it was something. I gotta see where the points are, but I'm hoping we're in a good spot for next week.
And keeping it up there, of course, good spot is the goal, but tonight I'm sure you were looking for a win. You were as low as 13th to kick off the night. Didn't really start in the upper half for the championship contenders, but it seems like everything got put together later on in the night. We had green flag runs, and we ended up with a few sprinkles of cautions at the end. You think that long green flag run benefited you the most of which?
Yes and no. It's hard to say because I felt like I was missing a little bit on the short, like the really short runs, in terms of that ultimate just flat out pace compared to a few guys. And even if I tried to conserve a little bit, I just didn't quite have the ultimate long run pace that some guys had. So I was kind of in this weird spot in the middle of both. Um, so I think to an extent it did. I think I mean, really the caution, like right around that first 1/3 mark of the race, I think really kind of saved me, because it got me back up in the mix. And because I was trying to decide what I was going to have to do on that pit cycle, of either short to get some track position back, do I run long and play the long game or whatever. But the yellow at least kind of got me back in the picture there, so that probably saved the race. But and then after that, I was like, well, my pace is fine, so I guess I'm going to try for some halfway points and see, which kind of worked out. And then like I said, that second caution kind of helped too. So um and then I think honestly those short runs at the end, um I think probably helped a fair bit too, because I think on that restart with 9 to go or whatever it was, 10 to go, I was like 10th. So, I was just able to kinda get the hammer down, and I at least had a small tire advantage compared to a few of those guys, and kinda happened to be in the right lanes a few times, and it just put me in a good spot. And then, a few holes kinda opened up on that last green, white checkered there, so it just, kinda worked out, I guess. It
And
was the
everything
whole night
worked
overall.
out again for a second place finish here, Thomas. Well, there's always one more chance for a victory in this penultimate round, and that's going to be in just a week's time. New Hampshire Motor Speedway. How do you feel about heading back for the last time this season? It will not be a 1.5 mile track, but instead the 1 mile circuit in Loudon.
Okay, I guess. I've never been a big fan of New Hampshire. I don't know why. Just never been a track I'd enjoyed watching races or racing at. But I seem to do okay there. It's definitely a track that I've done well at. I've finished well, and I would hope that next week will be the same. So again, I just kind of have to see where the points are. I'd like to think I'm in a pretty good spot. Probably not a surefire bet, but at least in a pretty safe spot, unless something catastrophic happens. So I mean, as long as we can get to next week, or through next week, then we can start focusing on Homestead. So, but we'll see. Like I always say, we just take it a week at a time and see what next week throws at us.
And there's really little room for improvement when we talk about the positions. But tonight, Thomas Bressy, hard fought to get back up to second. If you have any last shout outs or messages you'd like to give, the floor is yours.
Yeah, just as always, shout out to the JT Motorsports guys. Congrats to Matt on the top five. He did a good job hanging in there, and um, just sticking with it all night long. And shout out to Tyler Hensley as well. Teammate that hasn't really gotten a race this year. Hoping he'll be back soon. But he popped into the Discord in the middle of the race and did a little crew chief, and so it was cool to have him back in the saddle. So that was good. Obviously thanks to all of our league admins, all of our sponsors that we have that support Integrity Racing League. You for doing the broadcasts, and as always, I hope everyone that tuned in enjoyed the race.
Great to see, of course, another solid performance from this number 24 team. Thomas Bressi, second here from Las Vegas. Thank you again for stopping by.
See you, buddy.
But Bressi on the move, one final driver to speak to, and that will be third place in Braxton Deweese. And for Braxton, a solid enough run with the buffer he had coming in. It should be, like Bressi, good enough to make it into the round of 5 so long as he shows up next week. Braxton, P3 here, hanging on for a podium by only 12 one-thousandths of a second, and that difference brings you back up to the booth here tonight. How you feeling?
Pretty good. Having a good points run, good finish. It was definitely needed. Granted, we were plus 10. That definitely not a comfortable spot with 2 races left. So that should put us in more of a comfortable spot, most definitely. So that definitely feels good. But man, I felt like we probably could have had something there for Nick had we, been a little bit closer. Like with the 2 tires there, it kind of put us off. It was a lot looser than I expected there, and I was like, well, we just need to hold on here. So I'm actually surprised that we held on to third, but just on the long runs, I felt like I had some pretty good pace, but just was never in a position to really catch Nick or be, close to him to try to make a pass on the long run. So I felt like we had the pace, but all in all, I'm still happy with getting a podium here.
And coming away with the top 3, of course, a very solid run tonight. But let's talk about the event from start to finish for you. Started in 7th, so overall up 4 on the day. You had some pace in the first 50, 60 laps to eventually lead the race by the time we had our first caution. Tires here in Vegas. The conditions seem to be pretty favorable to the field. Do you think they made all too much a difference?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the tires definitely meant something there. Stroll was out with 21 lap old tires, and then we had the 2 lap, and you could just see the difference and how it was all running. But um, it was going to be very interesting with the strategy just playing out, going to the end. I mean, Nick he had a hell of a gap, so if it went green, he was probably gonna win it either way. But um, we'll just see how the tires wear at the other mile and a half that we're going to be going to it at Homestead. They're probably going to be a lot more, so um, hopefully we can save a little bit more of the right rear as long as that's how it is for Homestead. I feel like probably could have saved a little more of the right rear tonight, and I know a couple other people probably had some problems with that as well. But like I said, happy to come home with third.
And you mentioned, of course, Homestead, which is the next mile and a half on the schedule. We still have a week to go until we go to New Hampshire. Are your sights set fully now in Homestead, or are you going to be preparing a little bit more for the Magic Mile up next?
You definitely want to prepare for the next race on the calendar. Most definitely try to go for the win. But we'll see if there's going to be any updates before the Homestead race or not. And if there isn't, then we can, that gives us more time to be able to practice. So, um, I still want to have a good race in New Hampshire. Most definitely try to go for the win, like I said. But, um, you know, Homestead's 2 weeks away, and with how we are in the points, it's looking all right. So, yeah, you could definitely run a little bit of laps there, but I wouldn't get too carried away. You get too carried away, get too focused on Homestead, and then you have a bad race. Some people have good races at New Hampshire, and then you could potentially be out. Granted, I don't know what the points are going to look like, but I don't even want to be in that situation. So, um, hopefully we can just run, pretty good the rest of the year in these last 2 races.
2 more races to go. Looking to continue the good performances here. Maybe looking for something a little bit higher on the podium totem pole. Nevertheless, Braxton, P3 here tonight. If you have any final messages you'd like to give, we'd love to hear it.
Most definitely a big shout out to Alan Sart's Images on the car, as well as Interstate Ford, Bennett's Publical, Jane's on Main, Deweese Renovations, 234 Diecast, and Rivals Photography, Blaze Designs, as well as Evan Pineda Designs, and Bully Dog Coffee Company. You can use Brax5 for 10% off over there. And I appreciate everybody that tuned into the broadcast. Support me or not, it's always nice to have viewers and in the races that you're racing in. So appreciate y'all for that. I appreciate you, David, and everybody with the Integrity League. And going to be a pretty good one to go back and watch. And need to get prepared for next week in Homestead.
And Braxton Deweese, third place on the day here from the virtual Sin City. Thank you again for tuning in and stopping by.
I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Now with Deweese on the way, we've gotten the word from your top 3 finishers, all of which are effectively locked in to the next round, of course, that being the finale, the round of 5. Braxton Deweese and Thomas Bresci now looking very mathematically solid, so long as, of course, they don't make any major mistakes. And Nick Tarbuck with 2 consecutive wins, he finds himself once again on top of the totem pole and will lead the field into that ultimate round. The championship now just 2 weeks away. But before we get there, we've got to go toward the magic mile, in which, mathematically speaking, a few spots might be almost fully locked up, but 4 officially are still left to play. Watch us, of course, next week live on FTN as the Integrity Ignite Series comes back for its 29th and penultimate round of the 2024 season from the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Tonight for the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway, I've been David Kreutz, commentating and producing all night long. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated as we move forth to our final rounds of the 2024 calendar. Make sure to scan the QR code on your screen if you'd like to join the FTN community and enter the Integrity Racing League as a driver in the weeks to come. Thank you for tuning in once again from the virtual Las Vegas, Nevada. You've been watching the Sin City 210. We hope you have a fantastic night.